Okay, part two of our induction today. What we have covered so far is, of course, key areas of communication for you, your vPortal, your vWorker app in accessing the main menu and preparing for a client visit, really important, as well as, of course, accessing your daily and fortnightly rosters. The final part of today with me will be to explore how we sign on, how we claim for our travel allowance, and how we sign off for our client visits. Again, I would refer to your induction information that's been emailed to you. You have information relating to our COVID-19 risk assessment screening questions. You also have a how to claim for travel allowance document, and you have a how to sign off for your shift information as well. Importantly, we will also discuss incident reporting, and you also have a resource around how to do that in your app as well. And that will then bring us to the end of the induction. Okay, so let's get started. When you have a client visit added to your roster, you would click on that client visit. Again, we've been through how to prepare. And at the commencement of your shift, let's assume that's 11:30 a.m., you would arrive at Mr. Smith's home, usually 5 to 10 minutes early. You would take your app out and you would hit Start Shift. It's a green button that will appear on Mr. Smith's profile. Upon hitting that button, you will then be asked 8 COVID-19 screening questions. The first 4 are in relation to your own health and well-being. And as I always say, if you've arrived at Mr. Smith's, then you are well and you're able and you're not displaying any cold symptoms and you are perfectly well to attend your visit. If you weren't, you would have already reached out to the office well in advance and let them know so that we could cover your shift with Mr. Smith this morning. So it would be quite simply checking the first 4 questions, answering no to each of those questions. No, you don't have a temperature. No, you've not been exposed to COVID-19, etc. You would walk up to the door dressed in your uniform, your black top, black pants, black closed-in shoes, hair neatly tied back. Gentlemen, beards, mustaches would be groomed, hair would be groomed, and you would have your red apron on. Our first impression as an angel is so important, and turning up with a beautiful smile on your face and eager and ready to support Mr. Smith is really important as to who we are as a team. Knocking on the door, you would then need to ask Mr. Smith his 4 questions, which are in your app under the COVID-19 screening. If you were to receive a yes to any of Mr. Smith's questions, oh yes, actual Angel, Susie, I think I have a bit of a temperature today. Your response would be, Mr. Smith, I'm so sorry to hear that you're not well today. Let me just give the office a call and see how I can still support you. It's really important that you do not leave Mr. Smith's home. It's also equally important that you don't enter Mr. Smith's home until the office has been able to help you with next steps. On these occasions, previously, and it doesn't happen very often, our clients have been extremely responsive to ensuring that they let us know if they're not well. But we have been able to go out and perhaps do some grocery shopping, leave that safely on the front doorstep, still supporting Mr. Smith, but without putting you, our angel, in any harm's way. So call the office. In this situation, though, let's assume Mr. Smith is well. He's very happy to see you. You would ask the 4 questions. You would select no, 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 no for Mr. Smith, and you would hit save down the bottom. By hitting save, you've now logged on for your shift. You've signed on. You would pop your phone away. Your apron has 2 lovely large pockets on the front, handy to keep your phone on you. Now, you would have seen in several parts of your induction information how important it is that you don't use your phone during a shift. Now, this is obviously important because Mr. Smith has looked forward to seeing you and he wants all of your attention. And again, that respect and rapport and recognizing the privilege of being in his home is so important to the way that we behave and support our clients as angels. It's why we call you angels. We are different. We aren't just carers, we are angels. And our angel way is really, really important to working towards our mission of becoming out that household name in community support. So popping our phone away, keeping it on silent, but do keep it on you. If there's an emergency, we need you to be able to call 000, for example. Or if the office urgently needs to speak with you, they can ring you on your mobile. You may see at some point that there's been a missed call, and you could find the right time to ask Mr. Smith if it's okay that you've just seen a missed call from the office. Would it be okay if I made you a cup of tea and actually just go give them a quick call and make sure everything's okay? Always asking permission, always asking and always letting Mr. Smith know what you're doing so that they don't think that you're just on your phone and not paying them the full attention that they've been looking forward to. I guess some key things that may occur during a visit. Now, we know through our preparing for a shift that you've read the care plan, you've read the care profile, you know the key areas, you know what Mr. Smith's goals are. You know that by working alongside him in the kitchen is promoting his independence in being able to still cook for himself. And that's one of his key goals. And that's why he's wanting us to help him. So really ensure that we're across that. We would do all of our amazing things, but an incident occurs. And it's really crucial that you know how to handle that. The first thing that you would do is you would let the office know. That way you've got a support network behind you that's assisting you by perhaps making phone calls to family members, reaching out and being able to support you in whatever way you might need. If the incident was severe enough that 000 did need to be called, you would call 000 first and you would then call the office. Remembering those two key numbers that we've saved in your phone. We've got the 8 till 5 Monday to Friday office number, and then we've also got our after hours mobile number. Call the office, let them know what's occurred. Mr. Smith has just had a fall. He's okay, he's presenting well, he was able to remobilize, he's standing back up with his walker, but I'm just letting you know. Now, you would need to complete an incident report form for this. You would also need to complete an incident report if on arrival to your visit on Monday morning, Mr. Smith's complaining of a bit of a sore hip, and he shares with you that on the weekend, when he was home alone, he actually took a fall in the shower. He was okay, he didn't go and see a doctor, but his hip's been niggling him ever since. Again, we would need you to document that and submit an incident report form. Why? Because a near miss, or in this case, an incident that's occurred when we weren't there, we've now been notified of that. And it's really important that we can then demonstrate how we've demonstrated or performed satisfied our duty of care. We might need to get Mr. Smith to the GP for a bit of a review. Mr. Smith is notoriously bad for not telling his children things that happen when they're not there. And we might ask his permission to actually share that with his daughter so that she knows that Dad's actually had a fall. Perhaps we need an OT to go out and do a review of the current support rails that are in the shower. Perhaps they need to be moved to a better position. All of these things we can actually intervene with and to ensure Mr. Smith's safety. The first step of that is the incident report form. I mentioned near misses. If he nearly tripped on the mat, we should be documenting that as an incident, again, so that we could then prompt further interventions. The last type of incident is one that unfortunately might involve yourself. If you hurt yourself in any way, you need to stop what you're doing immediately. You need to ring the office. we can then guide you through next steps. Do we need to have another angel come and relieve you so that Mr. Smith is supported, but so that you can also get the medical attention you might need? Are you in fact okay to finish your visit? And we're going to follow up with you because you're going to see your GP tomorrow if it wasn't severe. The key step, though, is to let the office know so that we can help you make those decisions. Our primary goal is to ensure your safety and that you are working safely. An incident report form, again, would be completed if you were injured or harmed in any way. How do we complete an incident report form? So you've already signed on for your shift with Mr. Smith, and down the bottom of your screen, you would notice a button called Incident. If you were to click on that, you are prompted to provide a summary of the incident, which would then lead you to filling in a report form in your app. You would sign the form with your finger on your phone and you would hit submit. Now that is then sent through as a high alert to the office. You would have already phoned and we could then follow up with next steps. I personally take care of all of our angel incidents if and when they occur. So I will be the one that can support you post that incident occurring and whatever that return to work might look like for you. So that's incident reporting. Stop what you're doing, call the office, and then we can go through next steps with you. You have until 11:59 p.m. on the day of the incident to go into your client profile and add the incident report. If Mr. Smith is unwell on the floor, we want your focus on him whilst you're waiting for the emergency response personnel, or indeed while you're assisting him. I don't want you to have to go and do paperwork. He's your primary concern, as are you if you were injured. But certainly later in the day when you've got a little bit more time, you would be able to go in and do that. Now, in the most extreme circumstance, if the day in fact lapses and you still haven't done that, I would be able to send you a Word document gathering all of the same information. The other thing that I mentioned that might occur during a visit would be needing to take Mr. Smith out grocery shopping. Maybe he has a doctor's appointment, or in fact, maybe he's going to stay at home, he's feeling a little bit tired, and you're going to go and run some errands for him. In either case, in any scenario, what it might be, if you need to use your vehicle during a client visit, you will be reimbursed as part of a travel allowance. And the way to do that is you would hop in your car, Mr. Smith would be next to you, you would take out your phone, open up the visit you signed into for Mr. Smith, you would click on Add Note Photo. This might be right down the bottom of Mr. Smith's page, or you might need to click on More. Don't forget, you do have a how-to document to refer back to as well in your induction pack. Clicking on Add Note Photo, you would select Take Photo, and you would take a nice clear shot of your odometer. You would then drive around, you would come back to Mr. Smith's home, and you would take a second photo in the following the same process. So what you've done is save 2 photos onto Mr. Smith's profile. They are time and date stamped. That way, if we ever had to refer back, Mr. Smith perhaps calls inquiring about something on his bill, we would have that odometer proof regarding the number of kilometres that we have indeed reimbursed you for, but on the other side, we've had to charge Mr. Smith for. So that's why it's really important that you follow these steps so that the allowance is paid accurately. When we sign off for our shift in a moment, we will then close the travel allowance, and I'll explain how to do that. So just recapping what we've done, we have signed on for our visit. We've talked about our grooming guidelines. You have answered the COVID-19 screening questions. We've also talked about incident reporting and the key steps that you will follow as a care angel, whether the incident be involving Mr. Smith or in fact yourself. We've now started to explore the travel allowance claiming process and how you go about doing that by submitting those photos. It's important to note here that your app does rely on service. So if you are in a low service area, your app may not work to its full functionality. please simply take the photos using your camera, have them in your gallery. You can email them at a later stage on the same day through to the rostering team so that they can verify your travel claim. The last part of today's induction will be, of course, signing off for your shift. It's 11:30 and you know that you're finishing your visit at 12 today. In your Back to Basics document, we talk about things that we do at the end of our visit. And it's really important that you remind Mr. Smith, don't forget, Mr. Smith, I'm finishing up in about 15 minutes. Now, is there anything else you would like me to do for you today? Or in fact, is there anything that you'd like me to do differently next time? We really encourage and urge you to build that relationship with Mr. Smith, asking how he might like you to do things differently. Or in fact, he telling you how much he loved what you did so that when you return the next time, you do it all over again. So engaging with him and motivating the conversation for him to be able to provide you with this feedback is crucial towards the end. Don't forget to tell him how much you loved spending time with him. Who doesn't like to hear that their stories were well received or how interesting they were? Leave the visit on a really positive angel note, telling him how much you enjoyed meeting him for the first time or how lovely it was to see him again today and help him around the home. You'll see him again next week and you would then leave the home, going out and completing your sign off once you've already left. This ensures that you've given Mr. Smith all of your attention. And I guess the thing that we do before we leave, and particularly if we've done some domestic support around the home, we fold the toilet paper in a little V. And this just says how proud we are of what we do and how much our visits meant, how much pride we take in supporting Mr. Smith. For the same reason, it's why we do our shift notes or progress notes once we're finished. We can give him all the attention that he would like. We finish on a positive note and do that. Once you're out in your vehicle, you would hit complete shift. Similarly to the green start shift button, the complete shift is pink. You would hit on that and you are asked 4 questions. These 4 questions, just like your COVID-19 questions, will be asked of you at the end of every visit. The first 2 relate to that travel allowance claim we spoke about. Now, if you didn't do any travel and if you were just with Mr. Smith for the whole 3 hours or 2 hours, remember our usual angel day is several 2 to 3 hour visits, as close to one another as possible so that we've got that nice continuity of work for you throughout the period of the day. And so if you didn't go anywhere, you would leave those 2 questions blank. You would go straight to the 3rd question, which is your shift notes. In this case, though, we did submit our 2 photos. So how we complete our travel allowance is in the very first box, it says KM traveled during shift. This is where you would put the total number. Now let's use the number 10 as an example. You would put the number 10 in that first box. The second question asks you for a travel note. This is the explanation of why you traveled 10 kilometres for Mr. Smith today. And you would follow a specific format. The format is 10 kilometres for groceries from Milton to Kelvin Grove. Milton is where Mr. Smith lives, and Kelvin Grove is the local Woolies that he would go to, that you took him to that day for his grocery shopping. That would then complete your travel allowance. And when payroll receives that information in those 2 sections, they will then add that to your pay slip, which you receive fortnightly. The third question is notes about shift, and you'll see the word required next to it when you do log off for your first visit. You cannot log off for your shift without putting shift notes in. These are our legally required, documented observations, and it's so crucial that we use the appropriate language, the professionalism, and keeping any personal inference out. There's an excellent course in your Altura library called Documenting in a Home Care Setting. It's one of those core courses that we ask you to complete prior to your very first visit. I hope you enjoy that, and it will allow you to really focus your shift notes moving forward. We do look for two key areas in your shift notes. The first one is observations about Mr. Smith's welfare, health, or well-being on the day of your visit. These are observations only, things that you have heard, things that you have seen, even smelt maybe. Mr. Smith appeared to be well. He ate all of his lunch today, and we went for a short walk to the end of the street using his wheelie walker. He said that he enjoyed it. Now, importantly, the second part of our notes need to be about, well, what tasks did you perform? Both areas equally important. Remember, as part of our preparing for a shift in the first part of today, we explored the history of previous angels' shift notes. So when completing these, it's always good to think, who's going to read them? Angel Mary's working tomorrow. She needs to know what I've done today. Or in fact, Sharon is in the office and she's on the phone to Mr. Smith's daughter. She needs to know exactly what you've done or how Dad was today when speaking with her. So that's the third question that you would enter. The fourth question says, were there any changes to this shift? Now, as an example in this box, it does ask if you have stayed longer, that you would itemize that. What we use this box for is, in fact, if you have done an overnight visit and you've had to wake up through the night to help Mr. Smith go to the bathroom. You would click on the were there any changes to this shift, and you would then itemize in a similar way how we do our travel allowance claim. So you would write 22nd of April, woke at 2:15 a.m. to 2:45 a.m. for 30 minutes to help Mr. Smith go to the toilet. And you would itemize each time you had to wake up, remembering this is if Mr. Smith has asked you for support, not if you're just checking or not if you're just going to the bathroom yourself. So itemizing those wakes in this section, this then goes straight to payroll, just like your travel allowance claim. This is an extra charge that Mr. Smith will have on his bill. It's also an extra penalty that you will receive in your pay. As I mentioned, the example that's listed in this box in your app relates to if you've stayed back and worked an extra 30 minutes for Mr. Smith. It's really important that if Mr. Smith wants you to stay, you call the office first. No troubles, Mr. Smith. I'd love to be able to help you for a little bit longer, but I do need to check with the office first. This is really important because Mr. Smith may not have the available funds to allow you to stay for longer. And it's good to reach out to us so that we can help navigate that conversation. But that is all of the final 4 questions. Signing off for your first visit. You do not need to click on client signature. We don't access that information. And you would hit finish job. If you've answered everything correctly and in the right way, you will then get a successfully completed little note pop up on your screen, and you would then go to your next visit. I mentioned before when we were talking about incident reporting, you have until 11:59 p.m. to actually go back in and complete an incident report. So even though you have finished Mr. Smith's visit today, it will still appear on your daily timeline, your daily roster. If you did forget to add a note or do something, you can go back in and do that on the same day only. But that does bring us to the end of your induction today. And I hope that what we have gone through has really helped you in setting yourself up as a brand new Angels with Angels and Aprons. We have gone through a lot of information, and I can't reiterate enough that everything we've talked about is supported by a resource in your induction pack email that you would have already received. If you have any questions about the material that we've covered together today, I urge you to reach out and have a chat with us so that we can further explain. Likewise with your employment documentation. You should have already received that as well via a separate email. We do thank you for your completing of that. Again, any questions, please let us know. And finally, it's your Altura Learning. I hope you thoroughly enjoy getting stuck into those exciting courses and learning more about what it means to be a care angel with angels in aprons. Thank you for your time today. I wish you all the best on your angel journey, and I can't wait to speak to you soon. Thanks so much. Have a great day.